Marvel just proved that the flat lighting era is dead. And there is a scene in this trailer that confirms Peter Parker is turning into something no fan expected to see in the MCU. Stick around. The trailer opens with Spider-Man being thrown and crashing onto a car. And the first thing that catches your eye isn't the scene itself, it's the suit. You can see the creases in the fabric, the real texture of the material. So far, this is the best Spider-Man suit in live action. And the bar is high because Andrew Garfield's suit in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is excellent. But what makes this one different isn't just the design, it's the lighting hitting it. There is light on the left, shadow on the right, and the result is that it looks like a real movie and not a Disney Channel show. That by itself already changes everything.
And here is the big twist this trailer delivered: the death of Marvel's flat lighting. If you take Spider-Man No Way Home, which is a movie with a lot of good things, and watch it again, you will be surprised by how empty the environments are. Seriously, the web-swinging scenes in New York seem to happen on a theater stage. Here, it's the exact opposite. New York is full of cars, smoke, towering exposed brick buildings, with a frame composition that looks meticulously planned shot by shot. But what exactly changed in the directing for this to happen? The answer lies in the director's name. Destin Daniel Cretton was chosen for the movie. And yes, when the announcement came out, there was reason to doubt it. Shang-Chi has a visually ugly third act, to put it bluntly. The action scenes on the bus and the scaffolding are great, but the third act feels like a different movie, and not in a good way. That's why the doubt was legitimate. But what this trailer shows is that Destin arrived with a different approach here, a cinematography upgrade compared to everything Marvel had been doing. And there is one specific scene that proves this better than any other.
It's the scene of Spider-Man, bathed in shadow, with his silhouette visible but his face hidden. That is a directorial choice. It's not revolutionary. We used to see this a lot in Tim Burton's movies, but Marvel had completely abandoned this type of visual choice. Using shadow to represent the character's emotional state, showing what he is feeling without having to say it out loud, is exactly what sets a director who thinks in terms of cinema apart from someone who is just filming a product. And this scene has another important function that we will discuss in a bit. Before getting into the technical meat of it, a point about the movie's story. A leak has been circulating with about 90% accuracy so far, making it almost impossible to be wrong. Remember last year's Superman? We had a description that kept matching the trailers until the movie came out and confirmed everything. The situation here is similar. And within that leak, there is a specific element, which will be the focus of today's video, that if confirmed in the third act, will elevate this movie to a completely different level. Before we get there, we need to go over what's new in the trailer. Two details before moving on. Peter now has organic webbing, no web shooters, and his eyes turn completely black during the fight with Scorpion. This second detail isn't just visual, it is the key to everything. Let's talk about Sadie Sink's character, which the marketing is treating as a secret, even though the trailer blatantly gives it away. It is Jean Grey. There is no way it could be anyone else. She uses her powers, paralyzes people in time with a psychic wave, and there is a scene where the Punisher is not hit by this wave, which confirms the two are on the same side. The marketing's mystery show around this character is unnecessary because the trailer has already revealed everything. But her role in the story is what really matters.
Jean Grey seems to be using her powers to communicate directly with Spider-Man, mentally controlling the people around him to send a message. She is going after MJ. And this is exactly the kind of threat that psychologically destabilizes Peter. It's not a physical threat he can punch his way out of. It's an emotional threat directed at the person he loves most. Considering he is already losing control of his own powers, this is the perfect fuel for what the third act seems to be setting up. But there is still the Punisher factor in this equation. Peter is at such a desperate point that he is asking the Punisher for help. That speaks volumes about where he is emotionally in the movie. And MJ is apparently going to stay in the Punisher's hideout, which puts all these characters in the same space under a maximum pressure situation. However, there is one element in this film that I have a legitimate complaint about, even though I admit it is working visually.
The inclusion of Bruce Banner in a Spider-Man movie is way too predictable. As soon as you see Banner showing the equipment he uses to control the Hulk, you already know what is going to happen. The equipment will fail, the Hulk will show up, and Spider-Man will have to face the Hulk. It's screenwriting 101. The problem isn't the execution, it's that predictability is disengaging. When you know what's going to happen before it happens, you lose the tension. But, and here comes the important but, the Hulk that appears in this trailer is not the comical Hulk we saw in She-Hulk. This Hulk is menacing. He smashes, creates shockwaves, and pulls down an entire web-covered building without a care in the world. It is the Hulk we want to see in action movies. And there is a reading that makes his presence less random. If Peter's arc is about losing control of a force inside him that could consume who he is, then Bruce Banner is the perfect character to mirror that journey. Someone who has lived it, who knows the cost. Maybe the inclusion is smarter than it appears in the first trailer. And speaking of choices that seem smarter than they appear,
There is a scene where Peter throws Scorpion onto a police cruiser, and the cruiser flips, and that looks like it was filmed practically. It is not a CGI fest fixing the scene on a computer. It was planned as physical action first. That changes the texture of what you are watching, even if subconsciously. The viewer's brain notices when a scene carries real weight, and this one does. Combined with the decision to show the inside of the mask from a side angle rather than straight on like Tony Stark, you begin to notice Destin's fingerprint on the production choices. And this leads directly to what the movie seems to be building toward for the third act. The sunset web-swinging scene, with one side of the city vibrant and the other dark because it looks like it's going to rain, is visually the most beautiful scene in the trailer. I don't want to give a final verdict because you have to see it in the theater, but even on a phone screen, it is already far above what we've been getting. And in this scene, something appears that will matter a lot. Peter is having trouble web-swinging. Something is interfering with his powers in a way that goes beyond what we've already seen. And when you connect that to the organic webbing, the black eyes, and what the leak describes for the third act, the picture starts to become clear.
Before getting into the main theory, an element that seems random, but maybe isn't. The hand appears at the end of the trailer, and Spider-Man wraps himself entirely in webbing to attack the whole group at once. The scene itself looks really good, but the presence of this character amidst Jean Grey, Punisher, and Hulk raises a legitimate doubt about how well the movie is balancing all these elements. This is relevant because the main theory relies on the third act being able to sustain what the second act is promising.
The trailer confirms that Peter Parker is progressively losing control of his powers. His eyes turn completely black during moments of rage. The organic webbing appeared without explanation. And there is a scene where he shows up out of costume, moving erratically, as if his powers were active without him triggering them. In the leak, the third act features a visual transformation for Peter that takes this to another level. Not yet directly confirmed by the trailer, but every new scene lines up with what was described.
If the man-spider materializes in the third act, and if they nail the look, this will become one of the most interesting Spider-Man moments in live action. Not because it's a spectacular transformation, but because it represents Peter Parker's worst fear come true. The monster he always feared was inside him finally taking over. And what makes this even richer is the connection to Banner. Bruce Banner spent decades trying to control a force that goes against everything he is as a person. Peter is now in that same spot. That is the story the trailer is telling between the lines.
And speaking of the stories that came before this, the comic book arc that comes closest to what the trailer is suggesting is The Amazing Spider-Man: The Other, where Peter undergoes a metamorphosis that goes directly against everything he believed about himself. It is essential reading to understand where this movie might be heading. The direct link to this volume is in the description and the pinned comment through our Amazon storefront. And if you want to have Spidey on your shelf in a different way, our YouTube shopping shelf down below has exclusive collectibles with direct platform discounts. The only real reservation with the movie right now, besides the Hulk, is the sheer number of characters. Jean Grey, Punisher, Hulk, The Hand, MJ, and Ned all need to speak to Peter's personal arc, without any of them feeling like they are just there for filler.
No Way Home achieved this with the legacy villains because they were directly connected to Peter's emotional journey. If every character here has a reason to exist within the story, and not just within the universe, the movie will deliver. And based on what the trailer shows of the director, there is reason to believe it will. Destin Daniel showed he has the sauce in this trailer. The cinematography is on a level way above the previous 3 Spider-Man movies in the MCU, and that, combined with a story premise that has real potential, makes this the most solid contender for superhero movie of the year. It could be that the final CGI disappoints, it could be that the third act doesn't deliver the man-spider the right way, but from what the trailer showed, it is very hard to imagine this movie being bad. And when the director you doubted makes you change your mind just from the trailer, something special is happening.
That was the complete breakdown of Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, I want your comment, but not just any comment. If you believe in the man-spider theory, cite a specific scene from the trailer that supports your point. If you think it's all just marketing, tell me who you think the real villain of this movie is. The most well-reasoned comments will be highlighted and discussed in our next analysis, because here at Comic Chronicles, your theory helps build our next investigation. And since we talked about how this movie is redefining Spidey's look, you need to understand what's happening on the other side of the multiverse. The Spider Noir series, starring Nicolas Cage, is bringing an aesthetic that speaks directly to this new, darker phase of Marvel. I made a video dissecting every detail of this production that no one else is talking about. The video is appearing on your screen right now. To make sure you don't miss a single chapter of this new Spider-Man era, subscribe and join our definitive Spidey playlist down below. Every leak and every theory in chronological order. Click on the Spider Noir video and I'll see you there.